going on, Jacob? What up, what up, what up? Make sure y'all hit that like button and come in the chat, man. Make sure y'all smash that like button. We got 17 people in the building. Appreciate y'all for joining. Let me know if you hear me okay. If you hear me okay, just give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you hear me. Let me know if y'all hear me. All right, cool. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Waiting on my guests to arrive, man. How y'all doing today? How everybody doing? Let me know where y'all from in the chat. What's up? I hope y'all got y'all questions ready. What's going on, bro? Got Panama City in the building, man. Shout out to Panama City. You close by me. Let me start from the top. Got Jacob. What's going on, Jacob? Appreciate you. Who else we got in the building? Ghost Town Bullies. What's going on? AD. We got Dallas in the building. Shout out to Dallas. I came on a little earlier, testing out some new software, man. So Ashley should be here around 3:30. Got some recruiters in the building. Hope y'all got y'all questions ready. Appreciate y'all for joining. We got 27 people. Big Oso, what's going on? Appreciate y'all. Orlando, okay. DJ, what's going on? Appreciate you for joining. Scott, what's up, man? We got Big Lex in the building. Shout out Big Lex. Appreciate you. You go. Don't quit your job yet, man. Don't quit your job. Who else we got in here? What's going on, bro? We got Tanny in the building. So whenever my guests get in, we're gonna obviously do the introduction, and then you guys can ask questions, but I'll probably get to the questions at some point throughout the conversation. So just ask, and I'll try to, get to the questions periodically, or we may wait kind of towards the middle or towards the end before we start getting to the questions. But I get to y'all questions as soon as I can. We got Keith in the building. What's up, bro? Who else we got? Lou, what's going on? And for president. Man, y'all see I'm in the hotel. I'm gonna tell y'all why I'm in the hotel. Today is Friday. You guys know, well, if you've been following the channel, you know I'm on a 2-day route. So normally, under normal circumstances, I would be at home right now. but we had some issues. I'll probably tell y'all about that in a little bit. So I got to work through Saturday morning. It is what it is, man. J&B show. Oh, you work for Blue Rhino? Yeah, I think you told me about that, Big Oso. I believe you told me about that. How Blue Rhino treat you? No cap. We got Boston in here. Mobile. We got 33 people in the chat right now. Appreciate y'all for joining. As we wait on my guests to get in, make sure you guys smash that like button for me. Let me know where y'all from. Omaha, Nebraska in the building. Okay, Lou. Ghost Town, East Coast. Okay. Ocala, Florida. Who else we got? Florida in the building. Florida in the building heavy. Shout out to all my Floridians out there, man. Scott, Seattle. We got Stockton, California in the building. Yeah, that's what I said, Big Oso. We got 37 people in the chat right now. Appreciate y'all for joining. As we wait on my guests to get in. How many of y'all interested in Gemini Transport? Let me know in the chat. If you're interested in Gemini Transport, just put 100 in the chat. You taking your 10? Yeah, man, I'm taking my 10. Taking my 10, man. We had some system issues. Okay, I see Ashley back there. I'm coming for you, Ashley, in just a second. Yeah, we had some system issues at the warehouse, so all the routes got pushed back like 24 hours. So normally I would be at home enjoying my Saturday and Sunday off, but that's obviously not gonna happen today. But it is what it is. Still should get off pretty early Saturday morning. I appreciate all you guys in the chat. We got Houston, Louisiana, food service driver. What's up, bro? Appreciate you for joining. Appreciate all you guys in here. Carl. Y'all some quick shout outs real quick before I get to my guests. Sean, what's going on? We got Louisville, Kentucky in here. Bryant, what's up? Okay, I got you, Ashley. All right. We'll get to y'all in a minute. We got Denver in here. Appreciate you, Monet. Let me bring my guest in.
Hi.
Hey, Ashley, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Let me get Chris in here. Chris, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just making sure all you guys can hear me. Appreciate you guys for taking out the time to talk to me today.
Hey, Anthony, real quick. I
Uh-huh.
don't, Chris, I don't know if you're hearing it too. I'm hearing everyone twice.
Yeah,
You
you
hear
probably
me?
have to read the YouTube link.
Anthony, can you email me the YouTube link?
I actually did.
Oh, did you? I don't know how to do that. Can you try again? I
Yeah.
didn't get it for some reason.
All right. Give me just a second.
Yeah, I used that one, Chris, but everything's repeating for some reason. I'm gonna get out real quick, and then Anthony, can you let me back in?
Yeah. Do you see the link in the chat, Ashley?
Yeah, I
I
saw it
put.
in the chat.
All
I'll
right.
I'll try it again and see if that helps.
All right.
Hey, Anthony, I think Judy's trying to get in as well. I don't know if she's
Okay.
sitting backstage or
Oh
not.
yeah, I'm getting ready to add her.
There she.
Judy, how you doing?
Good. How are you all? Hey, Chris.
Doing great. We're gonna let Ashley get back in here for a second. Can all you guys hear me okay though?
Can.
Okay, great. How did you guys join? Did Ashley send you an email or did you use the link in the chat?
Link in the chat.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
She sent us the link to the YouTube, and then
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier just to hit the link in the chat for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, I think I'm good now.
You good, Ashley?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay.
Let me see if I can remove this one right here. All right. All right, so everybody's good now?
Good.
All right, cool. All right, so it looks like we got quite a few people in here right now. So first and foremost, let me just say I appreciate each and every one of you guys for joining me today. Looking forward to this live stream. I'm pretty sure we're going to be sharing a lot of information here. It's a lot of people that's interested in Gemini Transport. And I got to give a special thanks to Ashley for chiming in under the comment section of the video that I made. And I seen
It was
you
a good video.
appreciate that. I seen you really interacting with a lot of the people that had questions, and I just figured it was a good idea to probably reach out to you and get you on here live to, answer some of those questions. And so I definitely appreciate you for taking out the time and for reaching out to your colleagues to join as well. So this should be fun. So if you guys could just introduce yourselves, let us know, what you do and what areas you cover, and then we'll go from there. Actually, you can go ahead and start first if you will.
Yeah, so I'm thinking probably what we'll do, Judy and Chris, we'll each speak to the areas that we support. Um, Start out with that, and then we can just play it by ear. Any of us can answer the questions.
Okay.
So we're pretty
Sounds good.
casual. We're easy.
All right. Sounds good to me. Who want to start?
Yeah, we're live right now. Okay.
Yeah, we're
I
live.
couldn't see the comments. Usually on the YouTubes, I get the comments, so I didn't see that for some reason. I'm so used to doing it with Lonnie, but yeah. So I've been here for almost 2 years, supporting Gemini Motor Transport as their sole driver recruiter, and then we recently added Judy and Chris, and they have been a tremendous help since then. With that being said, I now cover areas Oregon, Washington, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, parts of Colorado, Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota. So those are majorly my regions. And then again, I'll let Judy and Chris speak to their regions and what areas they support.
Okay.
Chris, you can go ahead first.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm Chris. I just came to Gemini in September of last year. I retired from the Air Force after 20 years. I done recruiting in the Air Force side of the house, and now I'm doing the driver gig. So happy to be here. I'm from Oklahoma City originally, so Loves is a homegrown company. So that's kind of what attracted me to the company itself. I recruit for primarily the East Coast, as far south as Florida, up to New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Alabama, and Ashley and I kind of overlap a little bit in Indiana and Illinois.
Okay. Gotcha.
My name is Judy. I have been a recruiter for a couple of years now. I joined the Gemini team back in October, I believe it was. So I've only been here a few months, but I absolutely love it. And I believe and stand for everything that they have to offer the drivers. I basically cover all the central states. So starting as high up as Colorado, Wyoming, all the way down into Texas, Louisiana. And I also cover California, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Okay, sweet. All right. So 42 of you guys in the chat right now. Definitely hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button yet. So with the wide range that you guys cover, I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching right now, somebody probably live in the areas that you guys cover at this point. I guess Ashley, let me get on this question right here because somebody just asked a question. Let me go ahead and pull this up and maybe you guys can help with this question real quick. Can you guys see the questions on your end or the comments? It should
Yeah, like I
be
said, this is a little bit of a different setup than I've been used to before, but I do see the social chat if I'm not mistaken. So
yes.
I do, yeah, there's quite a few comments on here. Yeah, there's a lot of people on. I mean, I guess just to I mean, so essentially I can kind of give a rundown of what Gemini Motor Transport is. But because some people, want to know how Gemini relates to Love's. So essentially, Gemini Motor Transport is owned by Love's Travel Stops, and we deliver all our own product. So what we haul, and we are nationwide, and I think we're hitting close to our 700th store, if I'm not mistaken, and we're located in 42 states. But we haul fuel, so gas, diesel, bio. We haul diesel exhaust fluid, and then we also have our freight division. So our freight division delivers all of our tire freight and then light mechanical parts to our Speedcos throughout the nation as well. So that's essentially our sleeper division. But on the fuel side, we have day cabs, so we have local home daily spots, and then we also have sleeper drivers that haul fuel as well regionally. So a wide variety of positions that we have available across the states. But again, Gemini is owned by Love's Travel Stops, so that's definitely something that we want to relay out there as well. So that is what we are. That is what we're looking for. As far as the candidates, the type of candidate that we're looking for, if they are hauling fuel, so gas or diesel, we are looking for a driver that has their hazmat endorsement and their tanker endorsement. If you're hauling diesel exhaust fluid, that particular position would only require a tanker and then, of course, a Class A license. Same thing with our freight division. The freight division is a really, really great opportunity to get your foot in the door. Hauling freight, and we tend to hire a lot of drivers straight out of school for that position as well. But that one does not require a hazmat or a tanker endorsement. But again, that one is hauling freight regionally. So that position, you are in a sleeper truck, you're out normally 5 days out of the week, Monday through Friday on that spot, but home Saturday and Sunday. So we have a wide variety of positions available that can accommodate any particular type of candidate that's interested.
Now that position hauling freight, is that the dry van?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know you guys deal with dry van. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right, now just to haul fuel, what endorsements do you need for that? Hazmat and tanker or?
Yes, hazmat and a tanker. In some areas, the Pacific Northwest, for example, like Oregon and Washington, we do also require a TWIC card. But that's only in, like I said, those are two examples of areas that we would need a TWIC card. In some areas in Mississippi, we do require that as well. But for the most part, it's just a hazmat and a tanker endorsement.
Okay. And the experience?
Ideally, so it varies. I mean, we're flexible with this. Ideally, we would like someone with at least 1 year of experience. So 1 year of experience, and then not only just a year of experience, but we are looking for drivers who have good job history. So I've mentioned this before in other YouTube content that we've done, but sometimes we're going to shy away from some candidates that may be job hopping every a couple months, or if we see that maybe you've been driving for 5 years and you've held 5 jobs within the last 5 years or 6 jobs. I mean, that could potentially be a red flag for us. Not to say that we won't reach out to those drivers, but that is something that we look for as well. So we're going to look at what endorsements you have. We're going to look at your job history, and then we're also going to look at your ticket and accident history as well.
Okay. I'm really glad you mentioned the job hopping aspect, especially for some of the new CDL drivers out here and some of the seasoned guys out here, because I see a lot of guys floating around from time to time, and everybody have their reasons why they leave a job, but you guys do pay attention to that, and I really hope people are listening and they really heard what you said when it comes to job hopping, because there are a lot of companies like you that really pay attention to how fast these people are leaving these jobs, right? And so stability is very important in the trucking industry.
Absolutely.
All right, one other question. Well, we'll get this one from Carl real quick. I got another one for you. He says, "What are you guys' requirement on someone with the DWI on their record?"
So we are. I would consider us a second chance employer. It's going to be a case by case basis. Now, if it's something that was a recent DUI or DWI, I mean, we're going to have to look closer at that. But if we have an applicant that maybe got a DUI 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I mean, as long as you're honest and upfront with us from the get-go, that's not something that we're super concerned with. And then also we take into consideration, was it in a personal vehicle or was it in a commercial vehicle? If it's a commercial vehicle, I mean, it's probably going to be a no. But again, it's going to be a case by case scenario with that situation or anything else along those lines.
Okay. Now, so I seen someone in the comment section on one of my videos. I'm not sure if it's the one that I made of you guys, but it could have been. They was asking about the distance in which they, had to live to work for you guys at a particular terminal. I know some jobs have a certain radius, maybe 200 miles away from the terminal. What is you guys' policy on that, if you have one?
I'm going to let Chris and Judy take it from here.
Yeah, so for that, ideally, in a perfect scenario or situation, it'd be within 30 minutes of that location. Now, some regional managers are okay extending out a little bit further, around the 45-minute to hour mark, but that's really stretching it, and it's really kind of case by case basis, because each regional manager has had different experiences with their drivers. So some may be more accepting of a longer commute on a daily basis, and others are going to be, really refined to that 30 to 45-minute radius. So it really is case by case. Ideally, we want you within 30 minutes of that location.
And also, just to kind of piggyback off what Chris mentioned just now, the other thing that they take into consideration is the terrain of the area, because ultimately our drivers are doing 12-hour shifts, so we don't want someone coming off coming off their 12 hours, driving home tired, and especially if they live in a location where they're up in the mountains somewhere or something like that. So at most, we try to keep it for sure underneath the hour.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's actually, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just gonna say, you guys, you're driving all day, probably 10 to 12 hours, and then to have to commute home, an hour or so, it just wouldn't make sense to do that. I mean, like you said, you're really putting yourself at risk for being fatigued and things of that nature. So just for safety purposes, I see why you guys, do the 30-minute mark. Like, we got a question here from Scott Jenkins. He says, asked if they give credit for military service. I'm coming straight out of CDL school, troops in the transportation, the CDL school.
That's a good question, Scott. So we actually don't technically give credit for it right now, but it actually is a program since, I mentioned earlier that I retired from the Air Force. I'm very big on trying to hire prior military members, and Loves is actually really trying to get accustomed to hiring more military members. So we are in the process of putting together a program to transition military members into positions. It's just kind of in the infancy stage, but more to come on that. We definitely value, prior military experience big time, because we know most military members are reliable and they're going to be, sharp drivers and dependable people that we can count on.
Nice. Now, when it comes to you guys' work schedule, what shifts do you guys have available? And is there any shift differential in terms of pay and things of that nature?
Judy, you want to take that one?
So majority of our shifts to start out on, the driver's most likely going to start out on a night weekend shift to begin with. But of course they can eventually move over to a day shift whenever it comes available. But for anyone coming on new to Gemini, they for sure would start out on a night weekend. As far as pay goes, depending of course on your area, but just to give an example, you'll have your base pay, and again, this is just an example, base pay of 27, then you'll get $1 more for working night shift, and then you'll receive $1 more for working weekend. However, during the time frame of your training process, that can be a minimum of 2 to 4 weeks, you would receive solely your base pay, being that you're training on a day shift. But again, that's just an example. That's not specific to all areas.
Okay, great.
And just kind of on top of that, so like Judy, for example, in Central, so right now in Texas primarily, she's been having a lot of like Friday through Monday, night shifts where it's 4 days versus 5 days. So that's been primarily her areas. Now for Chris and I, we have a lot of like either Tuesday through Saturdays or Sunday through Thursdays, 5-day shifts. But to Judy's point, yeah, I mean, 99.9% of the time, to get your foot in the door with us, it's going to be a night shift. We get a question a lot. Well,
Uh-oh.
We're breaking up, Ashley. I think we lost Ashley. Try to get her back in. Oh,
No, we lost her.
am I good now? Am I in?
yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know where I left off, but kind of to Judy's point on the schedules. Like I said, Chris and I have a lot of Tuesday through Saturday or a Sunday through Thursday shift. So you could either have a Friday, Saturday off or a Sunday, Monday off. I think majority of our positions to start are going to be like a Sunday, Monday off. And a night shift. So I do like to be transparent and upfront with drivers. If you're looking for a day shift, it could be a while. But then again, I've seen it happen as quick as 2 months. I've heard of it taking as long as 6 years. So my biggest thing too is if you're just looking to come here to get your foot in the door and hope to get a day shift within a month or 2 months, it's not going to happen. That's just the reality of the situation. So if you do not want to work nights, and I always tell drivers, if you do not want to work nights is not your forte, I wouldn't waste your time coming here in that sense, because sometimes if you really cannot do nights, you probably should look elsewhere, because you could be on a night shift for a while with us.
Yeah. There you have it. That's good to know. Roaming Rome says, hey guys, where's the Georgia terminal and how is time distributed?
Romy, there's Georgia terminals all over Georgia. It really depends on your location, on which terminal that you're going to pull from. So I couldn't really define exactly where each terminal is. It really depends on your locations. We have multiple positions out in Georgia. Right now, the only position that is open is the Macon area. But that one is most likely going to be put into background, but we're always opening new positions. So my biggest advice to you guys is follow our Gemini Motor Transport careers page and sign up for alerts. Anytime we post a position on that page, you'll see the positions become available.
Okay, nice. All right, we had another question up here by Juan Lopez. Juan says, so all shifts are consecutive days off, or do you have split days off?
They're all going to be 2 consecutive days off. And it's going to be a set schedule unless something changes, but very rarely do your schedules change. And that's only in the event if there's some kind of movement internally. But it's going to be 2 consecutive days off, kind of like you could have a Tuesday, Wednesday off, you could have a Friday, Saturday off, or a Sunday, Monday off. That is another point that I want to bring up. If you're looking for a Monday through Friday spot, it's not here. So we do not have any Saturday, Sundays off unless you're working on the LTS dry van side.
Okay. Matt says, is there any location that will consider hiring a driver that's willing to relocate?
I am considering drivers for relocation right now, but if we do consider a driver that's outside, like over an hour outside of where we're hiring for, and that's, for example, in a completely different state, it's going to be a case by case scenario. So I have an opening, for example, in Tonopah, Nevada. It's out in the middle of nowhere. We've had drivers relocate. I had one driver relocate for a day spot there. He just moved in his RV. And then I have another driver relocating potentially for another spot that I have open in Ely, Nevada. But again, usually those are going to be for areas that are out in the middle of nowhere. And then along with that question, what a lot of people ask is, do we pay for relocation? We do not pay for relocation. We do have sign-on bonuses right now that would, potentially help with that, but we do not provide relocation.
Okay. Some more good information. Jay says, who's the recruiter for the Texas region?
Jay, I would be your recruiter for anything central.
Okay. Hey, Judy. Well, actually, all of you guys, if you want to just leave your contact info or your email or anywhere that can reach you guys in the chat, you could do that, or you can email me and I can put it in the description of this video later. Either way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and put my contact information in the chat, and I'm sure Judy and Chris will do the same. We can leave our phone numbers and our emails.
Okay, great.
The only other thing I do want to relay as well, we are only 3 recruiters nationwide, so we do get a lot of commentary and people reaching out to us from YouTube, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Craigslist, whatever. We kind of post all over, so we may not be able to get back to you in the same day. What I always tell drivers, you can call us, you can email us, you can text me. I always give out my cell, so you can text us as well, and we will do our best to get back to you. But sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to get back to drivers, especially if you're asking about an area that we're not immediately hiring for. So just give us a little grace on that. But I always tell drivers, if you don't hear from me, like within the first couple days, just text me. Persistency doesn't bother me at all, nor Chris or Judy, I don't think minded either. But just give us a little bit of grace with that, because we are very busy. So we're very blessed to be in a situation where a lot of people want to work for us. So
yeah, that's a good problem to have, right?
mm-hmm. It is.
All right, could you guys explain the hiring process with you guys? So once you get the phone call, I'm assuming from one of you guys, call the candidate, and then from there, if that conversation goes well and you push that candidate forward, I'm assuming to a terminal manager or something along those lines. Can you just explain that process?
Yeah. So so as far as what our process looks like, as far as the entire hiring process, so you're looking at a range anywhere between, it could take a minimum of 3 weeks up to 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer depending on the scenario. But usually a candidate will apply for the position. And again, it usually takes us a couple of days. If it's a candidate that we want to reach out to and interview for the position, you'll hear from one of us first. We will essentially do what we call a pre-screen, where we're going to go over, what we call all the non-negotiables of the position. So we're going to go over the schedule, the pay, the training process. We're going to make sure that you're okay with things such as cameras, driver-facing cameras, and just cameras overall. We're going to be, make sure that you're going to be okay with the types of rules and policies that are involved with us. Slip seating, for our fuel positions. Actually, most of our positions, we do slip seating. We go over all the apps and the technology and everything like that. So that's what we would call essentially the initial pre-screen. And that's where we go over your job tenures as well. We're going to ask you how long you held each position for, reasons for leaving, things of that nature. So that's the initial pre-screen. And that initial phone call with, you know, myself or the other recruiters, they may even hear from Audrey. She's one of our coordinators as well. That's going to take it. That's usually ranges anywhere between a 30 to 45-minute phone call. If all the stars align on that end and you're a candidate that we think would fit the position, we will then send your our notes along with your application off to the regional manager for the position, and we're going to recommend an interview. Usually the interview process, usually we're able to set up an interview within the same week, if not within a couple of days. Some situations it's the same day. It just depends on the regional manager's schedule. But we'll have them do the interview with the regional manager, and that's either going to involve like a video interview, a phone interview, or some of our regional managers do still do on-site interviews. It's just, again, it's based upon regional manager preference in the area. But if that interview goes well, then we're going to place you into the background process. And the background process is going to take anywhere between a week up to 2 weeks. It just depends on a variety of different variables. We're going to check your criminal background, we're going to check your motor vehicle report, we're going to check your PSP report, which is going to show any prior DOT violations, and then obviously like criminal history. So as far as from when a candidate applies until, you know, they clear background and we get them in the truck, we're probably usually looking anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
As far as the entire process. The only other thing is if you really want to get in with us, and I try to relay this to any candidate that I'm talking to that's interested in applying, just our applicant tracking system, there's 2 parts to it. So you'll complete the profile on our careers page, and your profile is going to stay in the system indefinitely. And then there's the actual separate.
We lost Ashley again.
Okay, so I think I can pick up where she was headed with that. So you will create a profile that'll have all of your profile information, your job history, etc. But then you will also have to apply to each individual position that you're interested in. Now, what I've seen from a lot of drivers is they get frustrated with the profile to application process, so they may only list one previous employment history and kind of halfway fill out the application and submit it. And if you do that, sometimes you're hurting yourself because you may get overlooked specifically for that reason, especially in some of our heavier populated areas where we're going to get a number of applicants. We don't have time to call every single applicant. And I'll use Davenport, Florida, for instance. I get probably 30 to 50 applicants for that position every 3 days. So there's no way I can call 30 to 50 people. So it's very important that you fill out your applications. And I know it's time consuming, but you know, how bad do you want the position? So fill it out accurately. Try to line up your dates, not only for the sake of us, but we're also going to pull that application and send it over to the regional manager along with our notes. So when those 2 things don't line up, a lot of times that's a negative reflection on you as a driver as well. So I would just encourage everybody to fill those things out, you know, accurately and fully for each position that you apply for.
All right, that's good information. So hopefully all of you guys in the chat really heard that. Make sure whenever you submit those applications that you're filling it out entirely. If you don't want your applications to come to any delays, right? You want it to be a smooth process. And by doing that, you got to fill it out in full. Appreciate you for picking that up, Chris.
Sorry. I think my Wi-Fi knows it's Friday, so it's
Yeah, that's what it is.
it has been acting up all day.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It was another question. Oh, okay, right here, by Jay. He says, "Are the trucks automatic or manual?"
Both. So majority of the trucks nationwide are going to be automatic. So really, like for example, all Central and I think majority of the East Coast is all going to be automatic transmissions. We have manual. It's going to either be a 10 or a 13 speed. In states like Utah, Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Colorado, those are the states where we have manual transmissions.
Okay. You guys see this question by Juan on the screen?
We do not do owner ops.
Okay. There you go, Juan. No owner ops.
Also, if I can just chime in really quickly, Jay, I seen your comment about the Fort Worth position. I did comment my contact information. I'm hoping that went through or that I did it correctly. But if not, feel free to reach out and we can go through the process together.
Okay. Now, can you guys talk about the benefits that you guys offer? And
Yeah, I can start out. Yeah, we have a full package of benefits. So we use United Healthcare as our insurance provider. So we have health, dental, vision. We have a 401k. So our 401k is pretty solid. We match up to 5%. The first 3% is 100% matched. And then the next 2% is matched at 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. Now, also keep in mind, some of these things change over time. So if you're watching this video 4 or 5 months down the road, you may want to contact us to make sure nothing's changed. But all the information that we give you today is accurate as of today, if that makes sense.
And how soon do those benefits go into effect? Is it immediately, 30 days after?
Yeah, so they go into effect on the first of the month after you've worked for 30 days.
Okay. All right. And holidays? What paid holidays do you guys have?
Yeah, so for holidays, you get 10 hours straight pay, regardless if you work the holiday or not. And those are your major holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, etc. And then in terms of time off, you get 1 week off at your 6-month mark, and you get an additional week off at your 12-month mark, and you get 4 personal days on top of that.
Okay, nice. All right. Now, I know you guys have some type of incentive program. Do you guys still have that, or has that changed?
Yes. So as far as incentive program, are you talking about bonuses,
Yes.
Anthony? Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a $200 monthly safety bonus, and then we have something called a Gemini Safe Driver Credit. So that's a 5, 10, 15, and 20-year bonus payout. So at 5 years, you get $15,000. 10 years, it's 20. 15 years, it's 20, and then your 20-year anniversary, you get $25,000. Now, the stipulation to that is no at-fault accidents or tickets. Now, on the 5, 10, and 15 and 20-year one, you can. There's some room. There's some room in there because I mean, some of that stuff you can't control, right? But but there is room in that. Like I think you can get so many within those years. And Lonnie, I think Lonnie's in the comments somewhere on here, and Lonnie would be a great resource for something like that, or asking one of our drivers. I don't have those specifics in front of me right now, but it's going to all apply, like I said, to at-fault accidents, tickets, and then I think things, for example, like a cross drop is going to apply to that as well.
Okay. All right. So a cross drop, that would be a ding then. That would definitely cause a negative impact on you receiving that bonus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if people don't know what that means if you drop a load of diesel into the gas tank, and as you can imagine, that can be detrimental.
Yeah.
That can cost the company a lot of money. So that's another thing that we're looking for with drivers. I think in driving as a whole, you have to have a certain mentality to be able to do trucking, right? And the type of mentality that we're looking for, not only are we looking for, everything that we mentioned on paper, but we're gonna look at your demeanor and your overall attitude. You can't, hauling fuel isn't for everyone, and that's it's not a bad thing, but you have to be flexible, you have to be patient, and you can't rush through things. And if you're one of those drivers that doesn't like to follow rules, that wants to rush through everything and just get it done, hauling fuel may not be for you. You know what I mean? Because a simple little mistake, just by skipping one step, can cause a detrimental event such as that, as a cross drop. So that is another thing that you have to take into consideration if you want to haul fuel as well.
Absolutely. And the training period is 3 weeks, 4 weeks. How long is training typically?
2 to 4
Typically,
weeks.
it's going to be 2 to 4 weeks, like Judy said.
2 to 4
It
weeks.
varies. So, like, if you're a brand new driver, if you've never hauled fuel before, you're probably looking at 4 weeks at minimum. So, if we hire fuel haulers that are already coming from another fuel carrier, if they've hauled fuel or even tankers in the past, it may be 2 weeks. And then someone had asked what training was like as well, and I know someone else had commented on here about getting carted at the terminals. So if anyone's wondering what training looks like, if whoever we're hiring, unless you're a brand new driver, you know how to drive a truck, right? But we're going to teach you the Love's way of loading and unloading, and just essentially the Love's way of hauling fuel. And then also teach you obviously how to work all the electronics and how the systems work and everything like that, getting you set up with those programs. And then also have to get you carted at all the terminals or all the racks, the fuel racks. So a lot of people ask, well, what's carting? Like, what is that? Essentially, those cards are going to enable you to pull fuel from those refineries.
Okay.
So there's a carting process.
And one other thing I think is worth mentioning is that fuel haulers do work in all weather conditions, correct? So if it's
Yeah.
raining outside, you're gonna be out there with the rain.
Mhm.
It's similar to my job. We work in all weather conditions. So I think that's something else that is definitely worth mentioning, right?
Yeah, especially on the west side. I mean, like Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Montana. I mean, you're also gonna have to chain up. So,
Yeah.
and some of those drivers are chaining up every day, twice a day. Like it's, you have to get used to that. Now, a lot of drivers ask, what if you're not comfortable driving in certain weather conditions, like Minnesota, for example? And sometimes you can't. And our regional managers always relay, if you're not comfortable driving in certain weather conditions, we won't send you in situations that you're not comfortable with. But for the most part, you are going to have to drive in those weather conditions, unless like you really absolutely aren't comfortable and you know for sure that it's not going to work. And knock on wood, I mean, especially all of our drivers out, at least in my areas, I mean, they all know how to do it. They know how to navigate it. But you also have that support from the regional manager as well, where if you feel like you absolutely can't do it and you don't feel safe, then we're not going to send you out.
Okay. That's great. We got a question here from Deeper Thought. He says, does the fuel hauling industry deal with slow seasons like the LTL industry?
To be honest with you, not really. And that's really why a lot of people want to get into the fuel hauling industry, is because of that consistency, because fuel is always a need. So that kind of goes back to, you were talking about holidays earlier. You got to expect, as a fuel hauler, you might have to work the holidays, because that's when people are traveling. That's when fuel is getting consumed. That's when they're going to need you the most to provide fuel. So no, the consistency. Now, I won't say that there might not be slower periods, but there should never be a time where you're not going to get hours the way you will in some drive-in or freight positions.
Okay. Nice. Now, I know some companies out there, like he just mentioned LTL, and a lot of those LTL companies, they'll have layoffs, furloughs, all of those type of scenarios. Do you guys experience things like that?
I'll let you take that one, Ashley. I am not aware of any layoffs by Gemini, unless you've done something wrong or
And Anthony,
unsafe.
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit, Anthony. What was the question again? I'm so sorry.
I was asking. I brought up LTL because I know a lot of the LTL companies out there, when it is slow season, they'll have layoffs or furloughs and things of that nature, just due to the lack of work that they have available. So I see guys there. hours or days get cut down significantly. And so I just wanted to know, is that something that you guys experience in the fuel hauling industry as well?
No, we've never. I mean, it's like one of our VPs said in a meeting the other day. I mean, Love's is pretty recession proof. I mean, we've always, done very well, even in the recession that we had in 2008 to 2010. I mean, we did great. I mean, that really didn't affect us by any means. Now, and that's another thing, we don't have any guarantees. A lot of drivers will ask us, is there a guarantee? There is no guarantees, but the reason for that is there's just no reason why our 5-day drivers should be seeing anything less than 50 hours a week, and our 4-day drivers absolutely will see nothing less than 40 hours a week. And that's the beauty in working for Love's, because we are a travel stop. You know what I mean? We not only, do we provide fuel to private passenger vehicles, but we provide fuel to tractors that are essentially ensuring that freight gets shipped and the world continues to keep on moving. So there is solely stability within that as well. So, knock on wood, you never know, but since I've been here and from what I've heard, and just given the fact that we're Love's, we're pretty recession proof, and the stability is there and the hours are there. So there really shouldn't be any reason why drivers should be concerned about getting laid off.
For sure. And the other piece too is the regional managers do a very good job at not overhiring for positions as well. That's why you don't see a whole lot of positions out there when they're available. It's typically a need, and that's
Right.
it. No, they're not going to hire a bunch of different drivers and then take hours away from the current drivers. So that's one thing that a lot of drivers love about our company, is they're going to make sure that they're taking care of their drivers.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I actually think that is probably the issues with some of the companies that have a lot of layoffs and furloughs. They tend to hire too many employees, and then obviously the ones at the bottom are the first to go, and you have that type of situation going on.
For sure.
Okay, I had
Yeah,
a
that's
question
something I
about
want to speak to.
actually I have two questions. So
Yeah.
let's just say I'm hauling fuel for you guys, and then after a certain period of time, I get tired of hauling fuel and I want to move over and start hauling freight and driving. What would that transition be like? Is that
It's usually
something
the
that can,
opposite way
is that
around,
something that can
actually.
happen?
Yeah, and usually it's the opposite way around. All of our freight drivers want to haul fuel. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of insight on that. So absolutely, if you wanted, whether you're transitioning from, hauling fuel to freight or freight to fuel, or even in the scenario where you want to relocate to a different state, really, absolutely. Is the opportunity there? Absolutely. And it just depends on the need and what we have open. So I, for example, have an opening right now in Indianapolis. I need 2 freight drivers in Indianapolis because 2 of our freight drivers are moving into fuel. So I'm essentially backfilling their spots so that way they can start hauling fuel. And then as far as from a relocation standpoint, just to kind of on top of that, a lot of drivers will ask, how soon can I relocate to another state once I start? So for example, if, they start in Indy and they want to eventually relocate to Utah, ideally we want them in Indianapolis for a minimum of a year before we consider transferring into another state or a different location.
Okay.
But it's easy to transfer within positions as long as the availability is there. But yeah, usually it's opposite. Usually a lot of the freight haulers want to go into fuel.
Yeah. And and let me be clear, I'm sure I would be the same way. I just kind of use that for an example.
Yeah. No, I was just joking about it because it'd be nice. It'd be nice if fuel haulers wanted to go with freight. But
I'll also add to that too. If you are interested in trying to transfer over time, your job performance on a daily basis plays a huge factor into that as well, because your regional managers are going to communicate with each other and determine, hey, do I take this guy from Indianapolis down to my Florida position or vice versa? So if you are, if you have a bad attitude every day, or you're sluggish, or you're calling in, or you're not, handling your business in the right ways, the regional manager is not going to support a transfer. So it's very important, that you are handling your business and doing the right things on a day-to-day basis, and you have the right attitude and good relationship, ideally, with your regional manager, because that does play a factor for you.
100%. That's another good point. Definitely a good point. All right, somebody asked about the drug screening, sideshow, the producer. How's the drug screening process? Hair, follicle, or urine, etc.
So drug screening process is a urinalysis. You would receive an email after you receive your offer, your signed offer, where you would go in and schedule it yourself, basically. So you'll type in your zip code or your area and select the clinic, and you'll go in and submit the specimen yourself.
Okay. Big O, so this is a good question. Is there an opportunity to get an admin slash supervisor position or manager, basically a leadership role?
Absolutely. We are really big on promoting from within. Um, Actually, majority of our regional managers were once drivers for us or drivers in the past. And I believe, and Ashley can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all but two of our regional managers were drivers for us at one point, if I'm not mistaken. So it's that window is definitely there. But again, as Chris mentioned earlier, it goes back to your performance and how you show up to work every day, and making sure you're giving it 100 from the moment you punch in to the moment you punch out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, do
usually
you
what
guys
that
have?
like,
I'm sorry, Ashley. Go ahead.
no, and usually what that looks like, I do want to be realistic with that though. I mean, if you're looking to be a regional manager in like 2 years or even 3 or 4 years, I don't see it happening within that time. A lot of our regional managers, I mean, I would say they were drivers for a minimum of 5 years. I mean, there was one regional manager who drove for 10 years prior to him being a regional manager. So it's not a quick process per se. Is it there and available? Absolutely. And as we continue to grow, those opportunities are going to be there. And someone had also brought up admin roles. Now, if you're looking for if you want to get into the corporate side or into like an office type role, like our corporate office is based out of Oklahoma City. So if you're looking to not go the regional manager route for drivers and you want to go into that side, then that potentially would relocation would have to be considered into something like that. But yeah, like Judy said, is the opportunity there? Absolutely. But again, you just have to prove yourself and show up every day, and we can count on you. And usually how that goes is you'll start as a driver, and then I think probably potentially they would put you as a trainer, and then a trainer can turn into a lead driver, and then you would go from lead driver into regional manager if you're looking into that route.
Okay. That's what I was gonna ask you. Did you guys have driver trainers?
Mhm.
Okay. And is there a pay difference for the driver trainers? And if so, what is it?
Well, so just to kind of answer the question on pay scales, so we have the driver pay, and then we have lead driver pay. Most of our lead drivers are the ones who are training drivers, so there's additional pay for our lead drivers, and then also just on the pay scale. So I know Judy had mentioned we have different pay scales for each region. So there's a base pay of $27 an hour. There's a base pay of $30 an hour, and then we have a base pay of $34 an hour. It's all going to solely depend on where you're located at, because obviously some areas are more expensive to live than others, and then obviously driving conditions are going to make a factor into that. But yeah, as far as being a lead driver and training, because mostly it's our lead drivers that are training drivers, and there is a differential with that.
You see that question by Big Oso? He asked, what is a lead driver?
Yeah, so a lead driver is essentially going to be a step down from a regional manager. So in a lot of ways, our lead drivers are our regional managers, right hand drivers, because our regional managers manage a large area, like a very large geographical locations for the most part. So they need those lead drivers for support. So a lead driver is going to help train new drivers, and they're going to be essentially the main point of contact. So if drivers, heaven forbid, if they break down or if they get a flat tire or running into, minute issues, usually the drivers are going to reach out to the lead driver first, and then the lead driver relays that information to the regional manager. The regional manager, of course, is always there for drivers to contact at any point in time, but essentially those lead drivers are, I guess the regional assistants to the regional managers. in that stance. And again, I think Lonnie, Lonnie may be able to kind of touch base on that as well, if he's still in the comments. I don't know if he is or not, but he can give any other information on that. But that's my understanding of what a lead driver is and what they do. They're a huge part to our success. A huge.
Sounds like it. Now, Sideshow, the producer, asks, I don't know if you guys know the answer to this question or not. What items do you provide for uniform? Is there any items we have to buy ourselves?
So I'll take this one. We do provide our drivers with uniforms. There is a little bit of a delay on them receiving. I believe it's like a t-shirt, Ashley, that just says Gemini on it. There is a little bit of delay. Orders are somewhat on back order. I think they have been since the whole pandemic hit. But we do cover their t-shirts, and then of course jeans are not provided by us. That is something drivers would have to pay for on their own. We do give a $400 yearly credit to our merch store to purchase anything as far as sweaters, hats, coffee mugs, anything like that, every year. And then we also provide a boot bonus every 6 months of $100 for steel toes.
Okay, that's great. All right. Amir, I think that's how you pronounce your name. They actually already answered this question. I know you probably joined late, but they have both automatic and manual. Juan asks, if you had to give a 1-minute elevator pitch as to why a driver should come to Gemini, how would that sound like?
I'm going to take this one, because I've been a recruiter for a long time, and I have worked for some OTR companies that, let's face it, what those form of recruiters pitch you, majority of it is a lie, right? You get there and it's something completely different. And coming in here, I had to learn the way of, Ashley's recruiting, and Chris had started just a while before me. But it was definitely different. The feel was different. And I can honestly say that everything that we offer to our drivers over the phone is 100% what they're delivering. Now, no company is perfect. We all know that. Every company has their hiccups, but ultimately what we offer here for our drivers is amazing. Their pay package, benefit package combined is great in comparison to most other trucking companies.
Nice.
Not only that, you're only delivering to Loves. I mean, that's a perk. I mean, if you're hauling fuel for a common carrier where they're having to deliver to all these little gas stations where it's hard to navigate the truck and trailer, if you've never hauled fuel, you won't understand that struggle. But it is easy it's easy to work for us. It's like a lot of our drivers. One of the drivers that I'm friends with, he's on YouTube as well. His name is KDS Trucking Colton. He explains it very well. It's like the office job of trucking. It really is. It's easy. And that's the thing. You have to be okay with monotony of it, because it is a lot of the same routes. You're doing the same routes every day, and you're doing really the same thing every day, but it's easy. It's great money, great benefits. It's a great culture. Really, what's a big selling point for me is our regional managers. I mean, I think not only do you have to look at the benefits and the pay, you have to consider who you're reporting to as well. All of our regional managers, they all used to drive for us. They know what it's like on a day-to-day basis, and they're not micromanagers. They are not. Here's the thing. When we are looking for drivers, as long as you show up, we can count on you, you follow the rules, and you drive safe, you're going to absolutely love it here. Now, if you're one of those drivers, kind of like Chris and Judy said earlier, if you call out sick, if you're lazy, if you don't want to do the job, if you constantly make up excuses, you're not going to like it here, because these managers are going to hold you accountable, because they've hauled fuel. They know what it's like. They know it like the back of their hand. So those are the type of drivers that we're looking for. And as long as you're that type of driver, this is probably going to be one of the best companies that you work for. But like Judy said, I don't care who you work for. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be stuff that you absolutely love about us. And there's going to be days where you're not going to like some things about us. That's just the reality of the situation. But again, that's going to be with any company that you work for. So that's another thing that I want to relate to, especially all new drivers coming into the industry. You have to really your mindset is everything. you know, being in trucking, you kind of have to have the mindset where you always have to look at like the glass is always half full. You know what I mean? If you have a negative mentality and you're constantly, you know, down and complaining about everything, and you look at everything in a negative way, you're really not going to be successful here, and you're not going to be successful in trucking either. You know, I see a lot of the mentality where the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, it's not always greener on the other side. You know what I mean? And what that's going to lead to is that's going to lead to a poor resume. You know, and any good reputable company, like we mentioned before, they're going to look at your job history. And if you constantly job hop and you're always trying to look for something better, it's not going to benefit you in the long run. So,
yeah. And to add to what Ashley said about the grass being green on the other side, guys, if your pay is not, and your benefits are not outweighing one another, then it's not worth it. If they are offering an extra $1, but those benefits are going to cost you at their company $1,000 a month in comparison to what you're paying now here with us, it's not worth it. Like, it's just not. So again, always just make sure that they outweigh each other. Otherwise, that extra $1 that another company may be offering you is not going to work out for you.
And the one thing with us as recruiters, we're always going to steer you straight. We're going to keep it 100 with you all the time. Like, me, along with Judy and Ashley, we are the most transparent that you can be in terms of anything that you ask us. So we're going to keep it real with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'd rather you hear all of the good, bad, and ugly and still want to join the company than to tell you a bunch of good things, get you on board, and then have you leave in 3 months. So we want to keep you around. We want drivers that want to retire, that want to earn those safe driver credits, and you know, ultimately want to be a part of the team for good. That's what we're looking for. We don't need someone that is going to leave us in 3 months to chase, like Judy said, that extra $1 an hour, because it's just not worth it more often than not.
That's going to hurt us more. That's going to make us look bad. So we're not going to lie to you, because we're not commission-based recruiters. So whether we hire 3 people in a week or 10 people, you know, we're going to get paid the same. And I absolutely love all of our regional managers. You know, I would never, I always consider, you know, take them into consideration when I am sending them a driver. And then not only that, it costs us a lot of money to train a new driver, a lot of money. So turnover does not, if we have turnover, that's not going to make us as recruiters look good at all. So that's why we are so picky, and that's why we're so transparent with you as well, in that stance. So.
Okay. Sideshow, the producer asks, with your drivers driving so many hours, do they get a lunch allowance or per diem, I guess you would say?
No. So you're going to average anywhere between 10 to 12-hour days. We do provide, you know, a lunch break, obviously, but we don't do a per diem for food. We do have per diems, but that's only for our sleeper drivers. So if you're hired into a sleeper truck, you get a $50 food per diem per day. But our home daily drivers do not get a per diem for food.
Also, truck money, just to add to that, and a lot of drivers don't realize this when it comes to per diem, you do have to pay that back at the end of the year. A lot of companies promote that. Like Ashley said, it's not something that we do here, but a lot of other companies do promote that. And what they don't tell drivers is that at the end of the year, you are supposed to file that.
That's good information. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't tell drivers. They don't want to tell them that. They make that out to be an incentive, basically.
Yeah.
It's just like those sign-on bonuses. Don't be chasing sign-on bonuses, because we all know Uncle Sam takes half of it. And those companies that you see that are offering a $10,000, $15,000 sign-on bonus, there's usually a catch on the back end for that, if you get it at all, especially sign-on bonuses that high. Now, we have a $2,500 sign-on bonus and a $5,000 sign-on bonus for really hard to fill areas. And how our sign-on bonuses work is you get half of it at 90 days, the other half at 180 days, as long as you're still actively employed with us. But yeah, that's where YouTube is a great resource, you know, whether you're looking to come on with us or any other company, make sure you're thoroughly vetting out any company that you're looking to go with, whether that's YouTube or just stopping and talking to one of the drivers. Just thoroughly vet these companies that you're looking to go with, because don't just listen to a recruiter. I even tell drivers who I'm talking to, don't just listen to me. You know, I always send them Colton's videos or Lonnie's videos, or I tell them, hey, if you've seen of our guys at the Love store or any of the drivers that haul freight, feel free to stop and talk to them. All those drivers are more than willing to take a minute out of their day to give you some insight on what it's like working for us.
That's right. Definitely do your own due diligence. Do your own research and vet these companies out before you just make a move. That's a very good point. Jerry May says, what website do you go to apply for the freight hauling position for new graduates?
I dropped the Gemini jobs link in the chat. You can apply for any of our positions at that link.
Okay. There you go, Jaren. Just go through the chat. And Chris dropped the link in the chat. So just scroll up a bit.
The more money,
You should be able to find it.
Yes. The more money you make, the more they take.
That's right. Do they require a high school diploma?
Oh, that's a good question, because actually, I don't believe that's ever come up for us.
No, it does we don't do education verification. So I actually just recently hired a driver that didn't have a high school diploma.
Oh, nice.
No.
DJ, if I'm interested in hauling fuel for Gemini, is there a video on YouTube showing how a day of work would go?
Lonnie, Dirty Broke, 215. Go to Lonnie's channel. And then Colton's channel. Colton is KDS Trucking.
Y'all, I got to do a ride along when I started, and I was impressed. Again, coming from an OTR background where the driver's got to log every single little detail. Yeah. You know, during my ride along with Barry out in Oklahoma, it was awesome. Awesome. He was like, my EOD basically does everything for me, you know? So I just thought that was amazing. But I will say that there is a huge difference between hauling freight and hauling fuel. Those guys got it made. Like, it's an awesome job to have.
Speaking of that, how physically demanding is fuel hauling? Because I know you guys do have females that haul fuel. Mm-hmm. So what's the job like in terms of the physicality of it?
It's not hard. It's really not. I mean, as long as you're okay with, I've actually only done one ride along. So I really can't speak too much to it, but I think Chris and Judy have done a ride along as well. But I think, you are, obviously taking into consideration you're getting in and out of the truck maybe 3 to 4 times a day. You're averaging 3 to 4 loads a shift depending on where you're at. So obviously getting in and out of the truck. And then you're pulling the hoses off of the tankers, and then we have those elbows. The elbows can get kind of heavy, and that's where you're connecting the hoses to drop the fuel. But it's really not hard. Now, what is hands-on is that LTS position, that freight position. That is hands-on freight. Now that is no joke on the freight side, and that's another one that I like to be transparent about. It's not so much the fuel side. Hauling fuel is pretty easy. It's really easy. Hence why a lot of our freight drivers want to haul fuel. That's why I joked about that earlier. But on the freight side, that's going to be the physically demanding one, because what you're hauling is you're hauling semi tires. You're not hauling Ford Focus tires. You're hauling semi tires, and those things, range anywhere probably between 110 to 120 pounds. And how that works, just to kind of give, in case anyone's interested in the freight side, you pick up the truck at the distribution facility. It's already loaded with approximately 260 to 280 tires. And then you're probably making around anywhere between 5 to 6 stops a day, but you are expected to unload those tires, and then you're loading any recycled tires that need to go back to the distribution facility. Now, a lot of my freight drivers that I talk to on a regular basis, they always tell me it depends on where you're going to, but the tire technicians, if they're available, they'll help you, load any recycled tires back onto the trailers. But that's the one that's pretty physically demanding. So if you don't want to do hands-on freight, you don't want to touch it, again, don't even consider that. But our turnover nationwide is 20%, just under 20%, which is pretty damn good. That's really good. Even on our freight side, when I first started working here, I was expecting high turnover, but a lot of our drivers who do it, that stay in it, they love it for the physical reasons. It keeps them in shape, and It's, again, they're not micromanaged. They like it because they get their own truck. They don't have to slip seat. They can travel Monday through Friday. It's a pretty cake position with great money as long as you're okay with the physical side of it.
And is that a local home every day type of position, or layover, or what for the freight
That one,
position?
Uh-oh, I think we lost her again.
Do any one of you guys know whether or not that's a home every day position, local?
What I got
It was
distracted.
it was the freight position.
So the freight position, well, it really depends because we'll have sleeper positions as well. So I'm guessing, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that may be the sleeper position where it's going to be Monday through Friday, I believe.
Okay.
I have not yet had to hire for that, so it's a little indifferent for me. Oh, I think we may have lost them both.
I think Chris is still, well, look like he may be frozen a little bit. Might have lost him. I know Ashley's still out.
Oh, there he goes. Hey, Chris,
There he goes.
our freight positions, are they all sleeper or do we have some that are home daily?
I think there's a combination. There's some that are home daily and then some that are sleeper positions. It really just depends on the area.
Now, as
Do you
far
guys
as haulers, it is all home daily. There have been some situations where, let's say, a state is in need of fuel, they'll have a driver go out and they'll pay for a hotel to stay overnight. But ultimately, they're going to check with their drivers first to make sure that's okay before they send them out.
Okay. Do you guys know the equipment that's used in the freight position? Do they have forklifts or electric jacks?
Yeah, they have electric lifts and jacks, I believe, to help you out unload the tires. So it's not too bad, but it, like Ashley mentioned, it can be physically demanding. You're not ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody else asked that. Load tires by hand or with help of a forklift. All right. Scott Jenkins, do they have no-touch freight positions?
No, we do not at this moment.
No, and honestly, our freight positions are far and few in between. I've been here for 6 months, and I think I've only hired for one freight position since I've been here. So they're very, very rare because, like Ashley mentioned earlier, those guys don't leave because they like the schedule, they like the job.
Big BG, they are paid hourly. All of our drivers are paid hourly.
There you go. All right. Somebody said they didn't see I think you guys contact info in the chat.
I dropped mine in there, but I'll drop it in again. That's no problem.
I see it on mine. I think you sent it to the personal chat towards me, Chris.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to.
Oh, I think I may have done the same, Anthony.
Yeah, I see it. I'll put it in the description at the end of the video.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Is Davenport, Florida, one of the hard areas to fill?
Now, Davenport, any Florida position is actually relatively easy to fill because we have a number of drivers that want to be hired on in Florida. So a lot of the times it can be very competitive. If you don't have tanker experience or some type of fuel hauling experience, it's going to be very difficult to get the regional manager to take a serious look at you. So that was one thing that I did want to kind of highlight. Especially for our newer drivers, try not to get too overly frustrated if you're passed over a time or two as you're applying, because these positions are so sought after. Sometimes you're going up against competition with other drivers from other fuel hauling companies, and it's hard for a brand new driver to compete with that sometimes. So sometimes you may need to go get that tanker experience from another company and then reapply down the road in order to get a serious look. It really depends on location and sometimes just timing, to be honest with you.
Yes, to add to that, just to give an example, we had 2 positions posted out of Greenwood, Louisiana, and we're never for a shortage of field drivers in that area. And so I had a newer truck driver, and I said, look, I can probably get you linked onto a position out in Carthage, Texas. It would have been a 45-minute drive for him. I said, and you can get your foot in the door that way, gain your experience, and then when something else opens up in the Greenwood area, we can get you moved over, you know? But he was bent on going directly into the Greenwood area. And so I went ahead and screened him and pitched the manager his information. But ultimately, another driver who'd been with one company for 12 years came along and applied and knocked him off the running. So again, I mean, we're in the South. You're in the South. There's never a loss for fuel haulers in those areas.
Right. Definitely. Experience is king in a lot of instances. So that's gonna trump.
Especially when you got a driver that's been with one company. The company he
Yeah.
started with is the company he remained with. That's huge. That is
Absolutely.
huge.
Absolutely.
As far as pay goes, pay is weekly.
Nice. I love that weekly.
It's OKC. Are y'all big? Texas, yes, I'm constant. They keep me busy in Texas, y'all, and Oklahoma. Right now, I've got a few positions open in Texas, and then OKC, they just opened up 2 of them.
Okay. Elle says, what all goes into the 200 monthly bonus?
Yeah, we kind of covered that earlier. So essentially, as long as you're not getting tickets, accidents, cross dropping, you're not doing anything that's an unsafe practice, then you'll get that $200 monthly bonus. The majority of our drivers are going to earn that. You really have to be doing something that's unsafe to not get that bonus.
For sure. And your pre and post trips being as thorough as can be is going to play a huge factor in that.
Okay, nice. Someone as Jay said, or asked, can you apply then get your endorsement before hire? You probably need your endorsement before you hire.
Yeah, I mean, in some rare occasions, depending on the location, you could apply and then be in the process of obtaining your hazmat. Sometimes the regional managers will be open to allowing that, but to truly be competitive, I would say come with your endorsements. And if you're in an area that requires a TWIC card, sometimes having that already can help you as well. But definitely having that Class A CDL, hazmat, and tanker endorsements is the positive step into at least getting you a look.
Yeah.
Because remember, you're going up against other candidates who've already got their ducks in a row. So you want to be in line with them pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys have split drop-offs, or are you delivering fuel to one location?
No, they do split drops. So you may deliver 5,000 gallons to one Love's travel stop, and then you may go down the road 50 to 80 miles to another Love's travel stop and deliver the rest of your Love's fuel. There's, I believe, 4 to 6 compartments depending upon the tanker that you're pulling. So.
Monette, yes, we want to see all endorsements. Absolutely.
Nice. Someone asked how many stops are done in a day.
So they're going to do anywhere from 2 to 4 loads a day, because ultimately it's going to come down to the area that you're running in, right? And how far out each Love's is. So for example, when I went on my ride along, we drove out, I think it was maybe 4 hours to one Love's, and then we started backtracking. So you have ultimately they want to get you back by the time your shift is going to come to an end. So if you're only on 2 loads for the day and your shift is, they know they're not going to be able to get you back in time, they'll go ahead and cut it there. But if you have some time there to get you on a 3rd load, they will absolutely do that.
Yeah. So it really depends on your location and how many travel stops are nearby you and the capacity of each travel stop. There's a number of factors, but anywhere from 3 to 5 is on average is what you can expect to deliver.
All right. Scott says the Gemini run double tankers.
Some of our lead drivers on occasion will, but most drivers are only going to pull one.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys definitely shared a lot of information today. I don't want to hold you too long. We've been on now almost an hour and a half, so a lot of valuable information shared. I definitely appreciate you guys coming on and sharing this information. Ashley had messaged back in; she couldn't get back in the chat, but I appreciate her time as well. So thank you guys for coming on today, sharing this information with the community. I appreciate each and every one of you guys in the chat, and if you have more questions, I will get these guys contact information and I'll add it in the description of this live stream. And anybody that didn't make the live stream, they actually can check it out on a replay. So the video will be here. So once again, I appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Thanks
And
for having us, Anthony. Much appreciated, man.
absolutely.
Yeah, no problem.
If you do decide to apply, be sure that you list Anthony as your person that referred you.
Appreciate
Yeah, that is one thing. We got some pretty nice referral bonuses. So a $1,500 referral bonus for our current drivers who refer us drivers. So just food for thought. If you do end up getting hired on, send some people our way.
Nice. I think everybody heard that.
Anybody hears anything when it's referring to money.
Yeah, exactly. All right, somebody just asked before we get out of here. This last one said the website.
So you would go to the Loves. You can go to lovestravelstops.com. You'll click on careers, and then you're going to scroll down and you'll see Gemini Motor Transport, sorry. And then you'll click on that and it should bring up the little search bar to search your location.
Yeah, and that link should be in the chat as well. So you can grab that link and just throw it in your browser. It should take you right there. You'll see all of our positions.
Also, just a side note, as they mentioned earlier, you do got to create a driver profile. A lot of drivers sometimes think that they completed an application. You did not. All you did was create a profile. You've got to physically go back in, select the job of interest, and apply.
All right, so there you guys go. And actually, I talk about the information in the video I made about Gemini. So you guys can go check out the video I made as well, because I kind of cover that information when it comes to applying and kind of walk you step by step in how to apply and submit your application. So that information is readily available. All right, guys, I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you.
y'all have a good weekend.
All right, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.